Before the first light touches the edge of the world, the sky lies vast and still. The night has not yet ended, and yet something stirs, a tremor of radiance behind the clouds. It is not the coming of the sun. It is the awakening of compassion. In this silence before dawn, the universe seems to hold its breath. Mountains sleep beneath a silver mist. Rivers lie unmoving, reflecting a faint shimmer from beyond the stars. Every creature, human, animal, even the unseen spirits, waits unknowingly for a moment that will change the course of countless lives. Far above this quiet earth lies the heaven of Trayastrimsa, the realm of radiant beings who dwell in joy and peace. And there, among them, seated upon a lotus of light, is the Blessed One, the Buddha, he who has seen the end of suffering, he who has crossed the ocean of birth and death. For 3 months he has remained in that heavenly realm, teaching his mother, Queen Maya, the truth that frees all beings. His voice, serene and clear as the sound of an eternal bell, has filled the heavens with the wisdom of impermanence, reminding even the gods that all things, no matter how glorious, must pass. Yet, beyond the beauty of heaven, the Buddha's gaze turns downward, toward the world of men and women, where suffering still burns like fire in the hearts of beings who cannot yet see the way. Below him, the earth turns in quiet darkness. In monasteries and forests, monks sit in meditation, their hearts filled with longing. In humble homes, lay followers light lamps before the Buddha's image, whispering prayers that rise like incense through the night. May the Blessed One return to the world. May his light once again touch our hearts. The world has not forgotten him. Even the winds carry his name. Even the stars seem to tremble with anticipation. And then, somewhere between heaven and earth, a soft, golden light begins to grow, a light that neither belongs to day nor to night, but to the realm of awakening itself. It expands slowly, gently, until the sky itself becomes its mirror. From this light will come a vision that no words can truly describe. The moment when enlightenment chooses to descend. This is the story of that return. The sacred descent known as Lhabab Düchen, when the Buddha, moved by compassion deeper than heaven itself, stepped once again upon the soil of the human world. It is not merely the story of a God returning to earth. It is the story of wisdom coming home, of light meeting darkness without fear, of the infinite choosing the finite, not to escape from suffering, but to embrace it with understanding. So, as the golden dawn begins to rise beyond the mountains, as temples awaken with the sound of drums and bells, let us journey back, through myth, through time, through the silence of our own hearts, to witness the moment when the Buddha's compassion descended. High above the mortal world, beyond the reach of sorrow, lies a realm bathed in light, a place the scriptures call Trayastrimsa, the heaven of the 33 Devas. It floats not in some distant corner of the universe, but in the vastness of consciousness itself, the luminous expanse of purity born from good deeds and wisdom. Here, time flows differently. A single day in heaven equals many years on earth. There is no hunger, no disease, no decay. The air itself seems to sing, and every sound is music. Every color breathes serenity. The beings of this realm, shining with divine radiance, spend their lives in joy. They dwell in magnificent palaces made not of stone or metal, but of thought and virtue. Their walls shimmer like crystal dew. Their gardens bloom with flowers that never fade. And yet, even here where all is beauty, the law of impermanence still reigns quietly beneath the surface. Upon a throne woven of light, surrounded by devas of compassion and wisdom, sits the Tathagata, the Buddha. His presence alone transforms the realm. Even the brilliance of the gods pales beside his serenity. He does not rule, he simply is, silent, awake, boundless. Long ago, 7 days after his birth, his mother, Queen Maya, departed from the human world, and was reborn here, among the gods of Trayastrimsa. She who had carried the future Buddha in her womb had not lived to hear her son speak his first words. Now, ages later, that bond of mother and child finds completion beyond the cycle of human life. The Buddha, out of immeasurable gratitude and compassion, ascended to this realm not to seek reward, not to dwell among pleasures, but to repay the kindness of his mother, and to share the Dhamma with the celestial beings who still wander in delusion. Even gods, though radiant, are not beyond ignorance. Their lives are long, their joys immense, but the shadow of impermanence still touches their hearts. They too must awaken. They too must see the truth that outshines both pleasure and pain. For 3 months, the Buddha remained in that luminous world. He taught the Abhidhamma, the deeper teachings of mind and reality, unfolding layer by layer the mysteries of existence. Every word he spoke became a rain of light. Every teaching fell like nectar upon the minds of the devas. They listened not with ears but with hearts, and as they listened, their radiance softened, not from dimming, but from humility. Even the gods bowed their heads. Even they could feel the fragility of their joy. In one teaching, the Buddha spoke of the unborn and the unceasing, that which lies beyond all becoming. He told them, even this heaven, bright and pure as it may seem, is woven of conditions, and whatever is conditioned must someday fade. The true peace lies not in rising higher, but in seeing clearly, in understanding, in letting go. His mother, Queen Maya, listened with tears of joy. She saw her son not as the child she had once held, but as the teacher of gods and men. Her heart filled with gratitude, and her understanding blossomed like a lotus in full bloom. The devas rejoiced in the Dhamma. The entire heaven vibrated with the sound of awakening, not a sound that can be heard, but a silence that reveals truth. And yet, even as the heavenly realm bathed in that silence, a sense of longing began to stir. Below, in the human world, his disciples waited, their hearts heavy with devotion and yearning. They had not seen the Blessed One for 3 months. The Sangha gathered daily at the foot of the Himalayas, watching the horizon for a sign of his return. Each day they asked one another, when will he come back? When will the teacher walk among us again? Even the trees seemed to lean northward, as if yearning for the light that had left the world. In Trayastrimsa, the Buddha knew their hearts. He saw their faith like lamps, flickering through the darkness of the earth. And though the devas begged him to remain longer, he spoke gently to them. Even the highest realms must hear the truth of impermanence. But now, I must return to the world where suffering still cries out for understanding. Thus, he prepared to descend once more to the human realm, to the dust and the tears, to the impermanent and the imperfect, for that is where the Dhamma lives. As the story continues, the scene shifts to the heavenly realm of Tvetisa, where the Buddha has spent 3 months teaching the Dhamma to his mother, Queen Maya. The air is luminous with a brilliance not of the sun or moon, but of boundless compassion and wisdom. Celestial beings gather like waves of light, listening in stillness as the Buddha speaks of impermanence, non-self, and liberation beyond rebirth. Even in heaven, beings cling to subtle desires, and the Buddha's words flow like a cool rain, dissolving attachment drop by drop. When the time comes for his return to the human world, the entire heavenly realm trembles with awe. The Buddha, knowing that his mother's heart is now at peace, rises silently. His gaze turns downward toward the plains of India, to the city of Sankasa, where monks, nuns, kings, and villagers await his descent. The path between the worlds appears not made of earth or stone, but of pure golden light. It is said that 3 stairways manifested, one of gold for the Buddhas, one of silver for the devas, and one of crystal for the Brahmas. The whole universe seems to pause. Even the wind holds its breath. From afar, people on earth see the heavens open like a lotus flower in the dawn sky. They see the Buddha descending step by step, serene, radiant, beyond human words. Each footstep upon the golden stair sends ripples of light across the world, and even those who had never heard his name feel a strange stirring in their hearts, as if they remember something. Forgotten for countless ages, the Devas offer flowers made of light. The Brahmas chant verses of praise. But the Buddha remains silent, his expression calm, his presence vast and gentle. He is neither proud nor distant. He walks between heaven and earth with perfect balance, the embodiment of the middle way. As the Buddha descends, his disciple Venerable Maudgalyana, renowned for his psychic powers, rises into the sky to greet him. Bowing deeply, he says, "Blessed one, the human world waits for you. The saga longs to see you again." The Buddha only smiles, a smile that carries the peace of 10,000 meditations. When his feet touch the earth, the ground becomes fragrant, and lotuses bloom in the dust. The people bow down, tears of joy streaming down their faces. They do not see a god returning from the sky. They see the awakened mind made visible, compassion descending into the heart of the world. And in that moment the Buddha speaks not to the heavens, not to kings, but to the simple, waiting people of the earth. Those who understand cause and effect, those who see the path clearly, walk safely whether in heaven or on earth. The stairway of wisdom has no end. It is built in the heart of each being. The air shimmers with stillness. Birds stop singing. Time itself feels weightless. The Buddha stands upon the earth once more, but his mind is as vast as the sky he descended from. This is not just a return from heaven. It is the reunion of wisdom and compassion, truth and the world, nirvana and life itself. As the crowd rejoices, monks chant verses of gratitude. The sound echoes like wind through bamboo forests. Homage to the Blessed One, the fully awakened, who bridges heaven and earth, who opens the gate of the deathless. And in that sacred silence after the chanting fades, one realizes the Buddha's descent is not only a story of divine movement, it is a symbol of awakening, entering our own hearts. Every time wisdom touches compassion, every time understanding descends into action, the Buddha walks again, not from heaven to earth, but from ignorance to enlightenment, within us. The sun had begun to set over the plain of Sankasa. Golden rays spread across the horizon like the gentle glow of wisdom after long darkness. The Buddha stood silently, surrounded by monks and lay followers, by kings and farmers, by children who clutched lotus buds in trembling hands. The golden staircase that had connected heaven and earth now slowly faded into the air, dissolving like a dream. Yet what remained was far more radiant, the stillness in the hearts of those who had witnessed it. The people bowed deeply, tears of reverence falling to the dust. They had seen a miracle, the descent of the awakened one from the heavenly realm. But the Buddha, perceiving their thoughts, understood the danger of wonder without understanding. His compassion stirred, vast and quiet like the ocean, and he began to speak. "Monks, nuns, and seekers of peace," the Buddha said softly, "this descent that you have witnessed is not to be taken as a display of power but as a teaching. I descended from heaven not to amaze, but to remind." A hush fell over the crowd. Even the wind seemed to pause to listen. The Buddha's voice, calm yet penetrating, continued, "I taught the Dhamma in the heaven of the 33 for the sake of my mother, that she too might awaken to the truth beyond birth and death. And I return now to show that even from the highest realm, there is no place where the law of impermanence does not reach. Heaven and earth are both subject to change. Birth, decay, and dissolution touch every world. But there is a path beyond all of this, a freedom that no heaven can contain." The words entered the hearts of the listeners like clear water seeping into dry soil. For a long time no one moved. Then one old man in the crowd lifted his head and asked, "Blessed One, if even heaven is impermanent, where then can we find true refuge?" The Buddha's eyes, deep as starlit pools, turned toward him. "Not in the sky, not in the earth, not in any form or thought," he said. "The true refuge lies in understanding. When one sees that all things arise and pass away through causes and conditions, clinging falls away, and peace is born. This is the refuge that cannot be destroyed, the refuge of awakening. The monks who stood near the Buddha lowered their eyes in silent awe. They realized that the golden stairway they had seen was not made of divine matter. It was a symbol of the path itself. The steps of gold, silver, and crystal represented the stages of practice. Morality, concentration, and wisdom. To ascend is to cultivate. To descend is to bring wisdom back into the world. The Buddha's descent was the return of enlightenment to compassion, the union of understanding and love. Then the Buddha said again, "The stairway from heaven to earth is not built outside of you. It is built every moment when mindfulness rises, when compassion descends, when wisdom takes form in kind action. Each time your heart lets go of craving, each time you forgive, you walk a step upon that radiant path." At that moment, a gentle breeze moved through the trees. The sound of leaves became like a whispering chant. People wept silently, not from sorrow, but from recognition. They saw in the Buddha's words a reflection of their own struggles, their own hopes. The descent from heaven was no longer distant or divine. It was a mirror of the human journey itself. To rise from ignorance through wisdom, and then to return, bringing light to others. Nearby, the monk Ananda asked, "Lord, will this event be remembered through time?" The Buddha replied, "Yes, Ananda. Those who are mindful will see this not as history, but as living truth. The Dhamma is not bound by centuries or lands. Whenever one descends from the peace of meditation into the world of compassion, the Buddha descends again." The people bowed once more, but this time not out of devotion alone, out of understanding. They saw that the descent from heaven was also the descent into the heart. The miracle was not the shining stairway. It was the awakening of the human spirit, the meeting of wisdom and the world. The Buddha turned his gaze toward the fading horizon. The day's last light touched his robe, making it appear as if woven of gold and dawn. Around him, the crowd remained, silent, breathing together in the soft rhythm of evening. In that silence, one could feel the teaching itself, vast, gentle, and immediate. "Thus, O disciples," the Buddha said finally, "do not seek me in the heavens. Do not search for miracles. The greatest descent is the awakening of compassion within your own heart. When the Dhamma is lived, heaven and earth meet in peace." He then walked slowly toward the forest monastery, followed by his monks. Behind him, thousands of candles were lit, flickering like small suns across the darkening plain. The people began to chant softly, "May wisdom descend into all hearts. May compassion rise upon all paths. May the light of the Buddha guide beings from ignorance to peace." The night deepened. The stars above Sankasa shone like distant memories of the golden stairway, reminders that what was once seen in the sky must now be realized within. And thus, the Buddha's descent from heaven was not the end of a story, but the beginning of understanding. A reminder that awakening is not escape from the world, but the gentle return to it, carrying light into the darkness of the human heart. Centuries have passed since the Buddha descended from the heavenly realm of Tvetisa, yet the light of that moment still shines in the hearts of those who walk the path of awakening. Time has carried empires away like dust on the wind. Languages have changed, mountains have worn down, and oceans have shifted, but the meaning of that descent endures. It is remembered not as a myth of divine splendor, but as a living reminder that wisdom must always return to the world of compassion. Every year, on the sacred day known as Lhabab Düchen, followers of the Buddha across Tibet, Nepal, Bhutan, Mongolia, and the Himalayan regions gather to celebrate this event. In the early morning, the air is cold and clear. Bells from monasteries echo through the valleys, calling people to awaken not just from sleep, but from forgetfulness. Monks in saffron and maroon robes walk in single file, their bowls shining in the sunlight. Old women spin prayer wheels with trembling hands, whispering mantras that have flowed through their families for generations. Children laugh as they light butter lamps, watching the small flames dance like tiny suns. As the smoke of incense curls toward the sky, people remember the day when the Buddha descended, when heaven touched earth, and the human heart glimpsed the infinite. The golden stairway is not seen in the clouds, but it lives in their imagination as a symbol of connection. Between compassion and wisdom, between teacher and disciple, between heaven and humanity. In monasteries, pujas are performed from dawn till dusk. Monks chant verses from the Pali and Sanskrit texts, verses describing how the Buddha, after teaching his mother, returned for the benefit of all beings. Their voices rise and fall like ocean waves, carrying blessings into every direction. Laypeople offer butter lamps, flowers, fruits, and pure water. Every offering, no matter how small, is given with the aspiration, may all beings find their path to freedom. May wisdom descend once more into the world. Throughout the day, acts of generosity fill the streets. People feed the hungry, release animals from captivity, visit the sick and elderly, and give alms to monasteries. In many traditions, it is said that the power of karma is multiplied many times over on this day. That each wholesome act, each kind thought, each moment of mindfulness carries the strength of thousands. But the wise understand that this is not superstition. It is a poetic reminder of the law of cause and effect, that the mind, when pure and compassionate, has infinite potential to create peace. As dusk approaches, the valleys glow with thousands of flickering lamps. Butter lamps line the windows of homes, monasteries, and mountain paths. From afar, it seems as though stars have descended to the earth. The night becomes a reflection of the sky, a mirror of the original descent. And in the hearts of the people, the meaning becomes clear. The Buddha's descent was not a one-time event in distant history. It is something that happens again and again, each time awareness descends into the heart of a living being. In that moment of collective stillness, when all lamps are lit and chants fill the air, there is a sense that time dissolves. The Buddha is not far away. He is present in the very act of remembrance. He is in the flame that dispels darkness, in the breath that repeats the sacred mantra, in the silence between the words. For a moment, heaven and earth meet once more, not through miracles, but through mindfulness, compassion, and shared intention. Many teachers remind their disciples that to truly honor Lhabab Düchen is not merely to celebrate, but to live the lesson it represents. The Buddha's descent symbolizes returning from meditation to service, from wisdom to love, from seclusion to engagement. The path does not end in personal enlightenment. It flows outward into the world, like a river returning to nourish the fields. Just as the Buddha descended to share the Dhamma with all beings, so too must every practitioner bring their insight back into daily life, into family, work, community, and society. And so, as the last chants fade into the night, a profound silence settles over the mountains. The people disperse, yet their hearts remain full. The butter lamps continue to burn, their soft light reflected in countless eyes. The wind carries the sound of distant mantras. May all beings awaken. May suffering cease. May compassion descend like rain. Somewhere in the quiet of the night, a monk gazes up at the stars and whispers, "The Buddha's stairway was never in the sky. It was always here, within the heart that knows how to love without clinging, to see without grasping, to give without expecting." Thus, the legacy of Lhabab Düchen endures not as a legend of divine descent, but as an invitation to each of us to descend from the heights of our own ego, our pride, our separation, and to return gently to the ground of humanity, where true awakening blossoms. For every time one brings compassion into action, every time one bridges wisdom and kindness, the Buddha descends again, not from heaven above, but from the timeless realm of awakening into the living world of human hearts. And so, as the final lamp flickers in the cold night wind, its light still lingers, a golden echo of that ancient stairway shining, quietly, endlessly, reminding us all, the descent from heaven is the ascent of the heart. The night deepens. The world is silent except for the whisper of wind through the trees and the gentle flicker of countless butter lamps fading into dawn. The celebration of Lhabab Düchen has ended, yet its essence lingers like the afterglow of a sacred dream. In the stillness of early morning, the earth itself seems to breathe in rhythm with peace. Somewhere, a single bell rings from a distant monastery, soft, resonant, timeless. Its sound ripples through valleys and hearts alike, reminding all beings that awakening is not a single moment in history, but a movement of the present mind. The Buddha's descent from heaven was not merely the journey of a divine being from sky to earth. It was a mirror for the human journey, a reminder that enlightenment is not escape, but return. To awaken is to rise above ignorance, and then to come back, bringing that understanding to the world of suffering, confusion, and longing. The golden staircase symbolizes this eternal rhythm, the ascent of wisdom and the descent of compassion. Together they form the heartbeat of the Dhamma itself. As we reflect upon this story, we might ask ourselves, where is that staircase now? Is it lost among the clouds of legend? No, it lives within us. Each step we take in mindfulness, each breath filled with awareness, each moment we choose kindness over anger, patience over pride, we build the steps anew. The Buddha's descent continues wherever wisdom descends into a compassionate heart. Imagine for a moment your own life as a vast landscape. There are valleys of sorrow and peaks of joy, rivers of thought, storms of emotion. And yet above all of this, there is an open sky, the space of awareness that never fades. The Buddha's story invites us to rise into that sky through meditation, reflection, and insight. But it also calls us to return, to descend with open eyes and an open heart, to serve, to listen, to love, to forgive. For awakening is not retreat from the world, but intimacy with it, the ability to walk among impermanence without fear, to see beauty even in decay, to hear silence within sound. That is the true meaning of the Buddha's descent. In the quiet dawn, monks begin their alms rounds. The sound of their footsteps on the stone path echoes softly, like a living mantra. Villagers come out of their homes, bowing gently, placing food into the bowls with reverence. This simple act, giving and receiving, is itself a reflection of Lhabab Düchen. Wisdom descends into daily life. Compassion rises through action. Heaven and earth meet in a gesture of shared humanity. No miracle is needed. No golden stairway appears in the sky. Yet in that ordinary morning light, something sacred unfolds. The Buddha's presence is there, not as a figure to be worshipped, but as a quality of awareness, as the still center of all movement. As the sun begins to rise, light spills across the fields, touching everything: leaves, rooftops, faces, dust, with equal warmth. This is how the Dhamma shines. Impartially, quietly, constantly. It does not choose where to descend. It simply illuminates all that is. And when one sees this clearly, the boundary between heaven and earth dissolves. Every breath becomes sacred. Every act of kindness becomes a step on the radiant stairway. The story of the Buddha's descent also reminds us of a deeper truth. Even the most awakened being returns to the world for the sake of others. Enlightenment, in its purest form, is love that cannot remain isolated. It must descend. It must touch the world, even knowing the world is fleeting. To awaken is to serve, to guide, to embody stillness amidst motion. And so, each of us, in our small ways, can live the same descent, when we bring calm to chaos, when we meet anger with compassion, when we forgive the unforgivable. This is the living continuation of the Buddha's act, not a myth frozen in scripture, but a practice unfolding moment by moment, wherever awareness touches the world. Perhaps this is why the ancients said, "The Buddha descends again and again, not from the sky, but from the heart that remembers." So, as the morning light brightens, imagine the golden stairway. Once more, not high above, but rising from your own heart, step by step. Each thought purified by mindfulness, each emotion softened by understanding, each action guided by compassion. The higher you climb in wisdom, the deeper you must descend in kindness. This is the rhythm of awakening, to rise for truth and return for love. Now, the last lamp of the night flickers and fades, leaving only sunlight. The festival has ended, but its real purpose begins, the practice of living with awareness in every moment. You may never see a stairway of gold, but you will feel it every time you turn inward and see clearly, every time you reach outward and care deeply. And so, the Buddha's descent from heaven continues, endlessly, through all beings who walk the path. It is present in the nurse who tends the sick, in the teacher who shares wisdom, in the child who forgives, in the meditator who breathes with clarity. Heaven and earth are not separate places. They are two movements of the same heart, the rise of understanding and the return of compassion. As the camera fades to the final image, perhaps of the morning sky over the Himalayas or the silent courtyard of a monastery, the narration closes. The descent of the Buddha is not a story of long ago. It is the story of our own awakening. When wisdom rises and compassion descends, heaven touches earth again. The stairway is built not in the sky, but in the heart that dares to awaken. Soft chanting fades in the background, the sound of monks reciting, Sabsata Bhavantu, Sukhitata, may all beings be happy. The screen slowly dims to gold, then to stillness. And in that stillness, the message remains. The Buddha's descent is eternal, for it is the gentle reminder that awakening is not leaving the world. It is returning to it with eyes open, heart open, and mind free. The story of the Buddha's descent from the heavens does not end with ancient songs or temple bells. It continues quietly, invisibly, in the breath of every being who seeks to live with understanding. The golden stairway no longer gleams in the sky. It rises and descends within the human heart, step by step, through moments of awareness, forgiveness, and compassion. Each time we turn toward mindfulness, each time we return to kindness, the Buddha descends again, not from clouds above, but from the timeless realm of awakening into the living pulse of our lives. Look around you. The modern world may seem far from the silent forests of ancient India, yet the same truths remain. The same suffering, the same yearning for peace, the same possibility of freedom. The stairway is still here, though we rarely see it. It appears in the small, unnoticed acts of presence. When someone pauses before speaking harshly, when a parent listens to a child with full attention, when a stranger offers a smile to another in despair. These are not grand miracles. They are the quiet descents of wisdom into the ordinary. For what is enlightenment if not this, the light of understanding entering the darkness of confusion? The descent of heaven into earth, of peace into pain, of stillness into movement. The Buddha's journey was not only his own. It is the archetype of every human journey, from ignorance to insight, from isolation to connection, from fear to love. To live with awareness is to let the divine descend into the human, to let heaven live in the heart. Imagine standing before the dawn, the sky painted in soft hues of gold and blue. The horizon glows, and for a moment, everything is still: the breath, the wind, the mind. That moment of clarity, when you simply see without grasping or resisting, that is the same silence that filled the air when the Buddha descended. It is not far away. It is here, in this moment. In the space between one breath and the next, the stairway appears again, waiting for the mind to walk upon it. This is the secret that Lhabab Düchen has whispered through centuries. Awakening is not somewhere else. It is the descent of attention into presence. To be truly awake is not to rise above life, but to be fully in it, to touch its joy and sorrow without being caught, to see impermanence not as loss, but as beauty unfolding. The Buddha's descent was an act of love, love that does not turn away from the world's suffering, but walks back into it, bearing the light of understanding. And each of us is invited to do the same. The world today hungers for such a descent. We have knowledge but little wisdom, connection but little compassion. We climb endlessly, higher in ambition, higher in possession, yet we forget how to return. The Buddha's story calls us to Remember that the greatest height is not the one that lifts us above others, but the one that allows us to descend with humility, to touch the earth with tenderness. For only when wisdom bends toward compassion does it become whole. Think of the stairway once more, not as gold or silver, but as simple steps built by your own daily choices. Each act of patience, a step. Each moment of mindfulness, a step. Each act of forgiveness, a step. And when these steps are walked with sincerity, the descent happens naturally. Wisdom flows downward into action. Compassion flows outward into the world. The sky of understanding touches the soil of life, and everything becomes sacred. In monasteries on Lhabab Düchen night, monks often sit in silent meditation long after the lamps have burned low. The world outside grows dark and still, but within each heart, a quiet radiance glows. The same light that once shone when the Buddha stepped down to earth. That light is not bound by history. It is the timeless awareness that watches, listens, and understands. It is the witness within all beings, the seed of awakening waiting to descend into realization. Let us, then, remember, we, too, are the continuation of that descent. When we meet pain with understanding, we bring heaven to earth. When we respond to hatred with patience, we let the Buddha walk again among us. When we live each day with presence, each breath becomes a prayer, each step a stairway. The world does not need another miracle in the sky. It needs hearts that remember their own luminous nature. It needs compassion that descends quietly, like rain nourishing all it touches, asking for nothing in return. So let this story not end as a tale of the past, but as a call to the present. Wherever you are, in the noise of the city or the silence of a mountain, close your eyes for a moment. Breathe. Feel the earth beneath you. Sense the sky above you. And in that space between heaven and earth, realize you are the bridge. The stairway is you. The Buddha's descent is happening now, through your awareness, through your kindness, through your choice to awaken in this very breath. When one heart becomes clear, the whole world brightens. When one mind descends into compassion, the Buddha descends again. The screen fades to golden light, the faint echo of temple bells. Ringing in the distance, the narrator's voice softens, slower, quieter, almost like a whisper to the soul. May you build your stairway of wisdom. May you descend into compassion. And may the light of awakening shine, not in heaven, but in the heart, forever. The final image lingers, a single butter lamp, its flame steady against the wind. The golden light wavers, then steadies again. And in that stillness you understand, the descent has already begun within you. The story of the Buddha's descent is not bound by time. It is not a tale that lives only in temples or scrolls. It lives in every quiet breath, in every heart that pauses to see clearly. The stairway of heaven was made of gold, silver, and crystal, but its truest form is within us. Each act of kindness, each moment of mindfulness, each choice to let go of anger, is a step on that sacred stairway. The Buddha descends not from clouds above, but from the stillness of awareness into the world of action. He descends into compassion. He descends into patience. He descends into understanding, so that even in the ordinary, the divine may appear. Every heart that opens in love becomes a golden step. Every mind that awakens in clarity becomes a silver stair. Every life lived in service, humility, and care becomes crystal, shining, steady, eternal. And so the descent continues, not in the heavens above, but in you, in me, in every moment we awaken. Every choice to see deeply, to act gently, to forgive fully, is the Buddha stepping once more into the world. Let this day, this breath, this heartbeat, remind you, the Buddha's descent has never left the earth. It flows in every lamp lit, every prayer whispered, every step walked with awareness. It is a river of light that never ends, a stairway built by the awakened heart, forever reaching, forever returning, forever present. And in this silence you realize, the descent is eternal. The awakening is now. The Buddha walks here within you. The Buddha's descent from heaven was never meant to end in spectacle. It was never about grandeur or admiration. It was a gift of wisdom, of compassion, of the path itself, offered to every being willing to awaken, willing to see, willing to return to the heart of life. As the people of Sankasa watched him descend, their awe was natural. But the Buddha's true message was quiet. Heaven is not a place. Glory is not the goal. The Dhamma lives wherever understanding meets compassion. Every step the Buddha took that day, and every word he spoke, carries forward even now. Each act of kindness we perform, each thought of understanding we cultivate, each choice to forgive, is a continuation of that sacred descent. The golden stairway is not lost in the sky. It exists in our daily lives, waiting for each of us to walk upon it. Imagine a world where each person carries that descent within them, where each gesture of care, no matter how small, becomes a step toward awakening, where every moment of patience, every breath of mindfulness, becomes a bridge between heaven and earth. Even in the ordinary, the miraculous unfolds. The light of wisdom touches the shadows of the human heart. Compassion rises like a river, gentle yet unstoppable. The Buddha's presence is not above us. It is within us, in the choices we make, the love we offer, the clarity we cultivate. The final blessing of that descent is this: awakening is not separate from life. It is not a destination. It is the descent into each act of care, the return into each moment of presence, the living of every day with eyes open, heart open, and mind aware. And so, the story ends not in legend, but in the quiet choices we make. Each act of understanding, each step of compassion, becomes the stairway rebuilt. Each life touched, each heart awakened, becomes the echo of the Buddha walking once more among us. As the screen slowly fades to gold, imagine, the descent is ongoing. The light is eternal. The Buddha walks not in the heavens, but within the world. Within your heart, your actions, your presence. Carry the descent forward. Let wisdom descend into action, and let compassion rise into every moment. This is the true blessing. This is the eternal stairway of the awakened heart. The Buddha's descent from heaven is not merely a story of the past. It is a living teaching, flowing through every moment, every heart, every action. The stairway of heaven, once golden and radiant, is not confined to the clouds. It exists wherever understanding meets compassion, wherever mindfulness descends into life, and wherever kindness rises to meet the suffering of the world. Imagine the stairway now, not above but beneath your feet. Every step you take with awareness is a step upon it. Every choice to forgive, every moment of patience, every breath of clarity, is a golden rung, lifting not into the sky, but into the depth of your own heart. The Buddha's descent is eternal because it is not bound to time or space. It is the unfolding of awakening in daily life, in the simplest acts, the quietest gestures. Lighting a lamp for someone in need, offering a smile to a stranger, choosing calm in the midst of chaos. These are not small things. They are steps upon the stairway, the continuation of the Buddha's walk into the human world. Each day offers the opportunity to let heaven descend into earth, to see impermanence without fear, to see suffering without despair, to let wisdom guide every thought and compassion guide every action. The stairway is built not in a distant realm, but in the very fabric of your life, woven from every mindful choice, every loving act, every awakened moment. This is the ultimate meaning of Lhabab Düchen and of the Buddha's descent itself. It is not the awe of a golden staircase in the sky. It is the eternal descent of wisdom into life, the return of enlightenment to the heart of the world, the stairway that never ends because it is built anew each moment, by each of us. Even as the years pass, even as civilizations rise and fall, the lesson remains. The Buddha walks again whenever we awaken within ourselves. Every mindful act, every compassionate gesture, every step of clarity, this is the descent happening now. Heaven and earth meet not in distant realms, but in the living reality of human hearts. And so we are invited to build the stairway within ourselves, to let the light of understanding descend, to let the warmth of compassion rise, to awaken fully and to return fully. The stairway is eternal. The descent is now. The Buddha walks within every act of love, every moment of presence, every heart willing to awaken. The final image lingers, a single flame, steady against the wind, reflecting the infinite light of the awakened heart. And in that stillness, the viewer realizes the Buddha's descent is not a story of the past, but a living truth forever unfolding, forever present, forever within. The Buddha's descent from heaven was never a singular event confined to a moment in history. It was and always remains a living echo, a vibration of wisdom and compassion that continues to resonate across time and space. Every act of mindfulness, every gesture of love, every choice to understand rather than judge, carries the sound of that descent into the human world. Consider for a moment the power of small actions. A gentle word to soothe anger, a hand extended to help another rise, the patient listening to someone's sorrow. These are not ordinary moments. They are the echoes of heaven touching the earth, the stairway of wisdom descending into everyday life. Each small act is a golden step, each compassionate thought a silver rung, and every awakening in the mind a crystal stair, steady and eternal. The Buddha taught that enlightenment is not separate from the world. It is not something distant or unreachable. It is the integration of insight and action, the continual descent of understanding into living reality. When we see impermanence without fear, when we see suffering without despair, when we act with clarity and love, that is the stairway being rebuilt. Moment by moment, this universal echo is alive wherever hearts awaken. It transcends culture, language, and geography. From the chanting of monks in distant monasteries to the quiet kindness in an unnoticed corner of the world, the Buddha walks again not as a figure of the past, but as the living principle of awakening, descending into each heart that chooses awareness. And so, the story of the descent is more than a legend. It is an invitation to live consciously, to bring heaven into earth, to let wisdom flow downward into action and compassion rise in every gesture. Every heart that opens to awareness becomes part of this eternal stairway, and every life touched by understanding becomes a reflection of the Buddha's return. The universal echo continues, in the laughter of children, in the calm of meditation, in the warmth of a shared meal, in the quiet patience of those who care, in the courage to forgive. In every mindful choice, the Buddha descends again, and as each of us carries this light forward, the stairway becomes limitless, stretching through time, space, and heart. The descent of wisdom is eternal. Its echo reaches every being willing to awaken. Heaven and earth meet in each conscious act, and the Buddha walks again, in you, in me, in all. The final image lingers, a single flame reflected in countless others, symbolizing the eternal echo of descending wisdom. And in that stillness, the viewer realizes, the Buddha's descent is not confined to heaven or history. It is present, ongoing, and alive, wherever awareness and compassion dwell. The Buddha's descent from heaven is not a tale frozen in the past. It is not merely a story to be remembered, recounted, or admired. It is a living teaching, unfolding moment by moment, whenever awareness descends into the heart, whenever compassion rises in action, whenever understanding touches the world. In every act of kindness, no matter how small, the golden stairway descends once more. A word of forgiveness, a smile offered to one in sorrow, a hand held for support, a moment of patient listening. These are the true steps of heaven touching earth. Each mindful breath, each deliberate choice to awaken, is a rung upon that eternal stairway. The Buddha's teaching reminds us, awakening is not separation from the world, nor is it an escape from suffering. It is a return, a return to life with eyes open, heart open, mind awake. The stairway is not above or beyond us. It is within each of us, built by every act of understanding, by every moment of love offered without expectation, by every choice to see clearly, to listen deeply, to act wisely. Even in the chaos of daily life, the descent continues. In the midst of work, in the quiet of a home, in the streets of a city, wherever a heart opens to awareness, wherever a mind chooses compassion, the Buddha walks again. He is present not in miracles or spectacle, but in the simple, sacred reality of life lived with clarity and care. This final reflection reminds us, heaven and earth are not distant places. They are not separate. They meet in each moment we awaken. They meet when understanding descends and compassion rises, when wisdom guides action, and love touches every gesture. The descent is eternal because it is the living reality of the awakened heart. So let this moment be a reminder. The Buddha's descent is not far away. It is here. It is now. It is in the way we breathe, the way we act, the way we choose to see. Every step of clarity, every act of compassion, every awakening thought is the stairway being rebuilt, rung by rung, moment by moment. The descent is not above you. It is within you. It flows in every act of love, every mindful choice, every heart willing to awaken. The final image lingers, a single flame, steady against the wind, mirrored infinitely, symbolizing the eternal descent of wisdom and compassion. And in that stillness, the viewer realizes, the Buddha's descent has never ended. It is present, ongoing, alive, descending into the heart of every being willing to awaken. The Buddha's descent from heaven was never intended to remain a story for history books alone. It is a living invitation, an enduring call to awaken, to return, to descend into life with clarity, compassion, and presence. The stairway, once seen in golden brilliance, now exists within each of us. Every act of awareness, every moment of understanding, every gesture of kindness. These are the steps we take upon it. Imagine the stairway beneath your feet. With every mindful breath, a step forms. With every act of generosity, another rung appears. With every thought of patience and understanding, the stairway grows higher, yet it always descends, descending into the world through your actions, your choices, your life. The Buddha does not descend once and then leave. He descends continuously through the hearts of those willing to awaken. This descent is not a distant miracle. It is ordinary, and yet extraordinary. Ordinary because it occurs in daily life, and extraordinary because it carries the power to transform hearts. Every smile offered to one in sorrow, every quiet moment of patience amidst chaos, every act of forgiveness when anger arises. This is the stairway rebuilt, rung by rung in the very fabric of living. The Buddha's teaching reminds us that enlightenment is not a place above, nor a reward at the end of a journey. It is the union of insight and action, the meeting of wisdom and compassion. When understanding descends into the mind, and love rises into the heart, the stairway becomes eternal, and heaven touches earth once again. Even amidst the noise of the modern world, this stairway exists. In the crowded streets, in the quiet corners of a home, in moments of stillness and in moments of care, the Buddha walks again. Every conscious choice to awaken, every compassionate act, every mindful moment. This is the ongoing descent, the eternal stairway of the awakened heart. And so, the invitation is clear. Do not wait for miracles in the sky. Do not seek the stairway in distant temples. It is here now within you. With each breath, with each choice, with each act of love and understanding, you walk the stairway yourself. The Buddha's descent is not above. It is within, and every heart willing to awaken carries it forward. Walk the stairway of awareness. Let compassion rise. Let wisdom descend. And know, the Buddha walks not in legend, but in every life touched by awakening. The final image lingers, a single lamp burning steadily against the wind, its glow mirrored infinitely, symbolizing the eternal, ongoing descent of wisdom and compassion. And in that stillness, the viewer understands. The stairway is no longer above, no longer distant. It is alive within every heart willing to awaken.